Hi, I'm Cindy Abbott Letro, and welcome to Behind the Camera. And today we have a wonderful guest, a guest from Buffalo, Nichols grad, Nick Bakay, who has gone on to do, it seems, about every part of the television industry that you can imagine. He's also a sportscaster, a sports commentator, does voiceovers, an actor, a producer, and you probably see his name on the credits of Mom, but also King of Queens, many, many things. Nick, thank you for taking the time during this pandemic to share a little bit of your wisdom. We have just started, in Western New York, the industry was really getting off, making films here. We had hoped that eventually we might be able to do series and develop different things with the kids at both UB and Buff State. There is so much interest in it, but this has really taken all of us by surprise, and probably you as well.
Absolutely. We were, we had a 22 episode order of Mom that we were 20 episodes in terms of shot, produced. When, we were in the last couple of weeks of the first 20 when it started to happen, and we weren't sure what the policy was going to be. And my attitude was always, I don't want my crew losing checks. And that's something that the crew was also very bullish on not doing. So I said, at first they kind of put it in the showrunner's laps. And I just said, I'm not making this decision. This is way above me. And I'm interested in everybody fulfilling their season commitment. And then Warner's did, I think, wisely. As the momentum of what a bad idea it was for us to congregate became clearer and clearer. So we finished the season shy 2 episodes. And I kind of got back on the lot in the last days where you could even get on the lot to do the final edits and the mix on them. And that's it, So it definitely came fast and surprised and blindsided everybody.
You've had such success in the industry. Did you go to New York and then LA, or what was the career path for you? Because when I mention it's like you've done everything. It's like, what part of the industry haven't you worked in?
Well, I did everything, because I was always of the mind that if they say, would you like to do this? You just say yes. And a lot of what made my career eclectic was, it was about paying the rent. So it was like, sure, I'll try that. I'll try anything. But I in the early days, I was, very interested in pursuing a career as an actor. And I went to undergrad school. They had a really nice theater program at a small liberal arts school in Ohio called Kenyon College.
I know it very well. I went to the College of Worcester, so it's just down the road from there. Yeah, it's a
about
great
800
school.
colleges in Ohio, and we were one of them.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, while I was there doing all these plays and learning how to act, one of my classmates was Allison Janney. Which was really a strange thing. The fact that we work on the show Mom now is complete kismet and coincidence, but kind of remarkable. Right. We went off and did a lot of travel and a lot of things, and then we've reconvened. It's been absolutely wonderful. But I was going to be a little actor guy, and after grad school, actually undergrad, I went to grad school. They had a good conservatory actor training program, believe it or not, at SMU in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I went there for 2 years, and I got my master's, and it also afforded an opportunity to audition at Juilliard. There was this thing called the League of Professional Acting Training Schools, and it was the ones about, like Juilliard and Yale, and then about 10 others you've never heard of, including SMU. But I got to go to New York and do a monologue and a scene in a theater filled with agents and with theater casting directors, all that stuff, and it helped me move to New York, and I had representation. And I spent a lot of time in New York City. I spent about, not quite 10 years there, trying to make it as an actor. And I had highs and lows, and I did work, but I did a lot of not working. And during that time, through another set of coincidences, I started to write for the National Lampoon magazine. And it was like all of a sudden everything changed for me. I realized if you can write comedy, it's kind of like being a left-handed pitcher. There just aren't enough of them. Another 24-year-old actor, we got those. In New York, we got plenty of them. So my life changed in that moment. It's funny, Matty Simmons, the publisher of the Lampoon, just passed away. He was the first guy who ever paid me to write a joke and changed my life. And it was working there that led me to Comedy Channel and doing comedy on TV. And it was goodbye theater because I realized, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
You know, and to me, it takes a lot of courage in a way because not that, you know, being an actor or actress doesn't, but the thing is that when you're writing jokes, I mean, once you've written it, it's performed, it's gone. I mean, it's not like Shakespeare that's performed again and again and again. I mean, how many times, I mean, you can tell certain jokes over and over, but you really have to be on your toes and constantly be sort of reinventing yourself.
I learned that, you know, got hired, my first TV writing job was at what is now Comedy Central. It was called the Comedy Channel at that time, and it was a bare bones operation. It was each show. We did a lot of clips with a host. So the shows that evolved into real TV shows started out with a host, a writer, a producer, and a PA. And we had to do, you know, I think it was an hour or 2 hour show 5 days a week. And that was the moment when I realized, holy crap, you know, every day I went into work and I was so grateful for the New York Post on the train because I go, okay, well, what can I make fun of? I got nothing. You know, it's like you learn quickly that, you know, you think, oh my God, my bag's empty every day. I've got nothing.
Right.
But that's when you also realize if you're around funny people, if you're around a place with good energy, there is a collaborative zeitgeist and it helps you when you realize, okay, we used all my jokes on Tuesday. I'm back Wednesday and I'm writing jokes again. And it's a grind, but you learn you can do it.
I wanted to ask you about you and Kevin James and King of Queens. And when you said that about being around good energy and funny people, what comes to my mind is I know you actually have acted on King of Queens, but Jerry Stiller, his passing, because you worked with him on that show. And when you talk about somebody who is a funny man, you know, just him walking into a room, he could be funny. So,
no, he was innately funny. He would bring so much to the party. I also know, you know, just from my years editing multicam sitcoms that, and this was true of Leah, this is true certainly of Kevin, but wow, was it true with Jerry? They're really funny people. They get you laughs that you didn't write. You know, when you're cutting a scene, you can just cut to a reaction from Jerry Stiller, and it's a laugh, bigger laugh than anything you put on the page. And Jerry was fascinating because he was one of the nicest people I've ever worked with. I'm happy to report. Honestly, I think to know that guy was to love him, and I think you saw that in the outpouring after he passed away.
right.
But the other thing that was fascinating about Jerry is he approached the work seriously. As madcap and as zany as his performance results were, he was a very organic, hardcore, methody actor. He had to understand what he was doing in this scene and why. And his process during a week of King of Queens was fascinating. I never saw anyone work harder. But he went at everything organically, and it just came out funny because he had that magic.
What is the magic of Mom? I mean, how do you know when you're involved in something like that? Of course, Allison Janney, old friend, incredibly talented actress, but sometimes you have those things on paper and it doesn't work in comedy. How do you know it's going to be a success?
Well, it is a little lightning in a bottle, you know, for all the best laid plans. And often in my career, the projects that had the best pedigree, we got the best talent, we've got an idea that's perfect, it's tailor-made, all that, they shit the bed, you know. And the ones that you go in and going, ugh, what is this going to be? That's the one that goes for years. You just can't, there is no divining rod other than the alchemy of all these elements coming together. And, you know, in some cases, those elements include wisdom on the network level of what to put on the air. I mean, there's so much that you can't control. In the case of Mom, I really think the magic of the show is that it's a laugh-driven multicam traditional sitcom, but it's about something real. It's about women in recovery at different stages of their lives. It's got a real gutsy, real week-to-week reality that is emotionally true. I spent a lot of years working on sitcoms where, the whole episode had to be about like, well, what are we going to get Joe and Bob for their wedding gift? And I'd be, it's hard, man. That is, they wonder why writers are there till 1 a.m. every night. It's because you're sitting there going, well, what's good? This is a terrible premise. And we got to get 22 minutes out of it. Forget it. This show is easy because it can be simple. It's very emotionally real. And we got the horses that let us write this so dimensionally. I mean, it starts, of course, Allison, but Anna Faris, Kristen Johnston, Jamie Presley, our cast, Mimi Kennedy. They can turn on a dime. It's like, there's that old expression in football scouting, he can stop on a dime and give you 5 cents change. We can be rolling with a big, broad, funny premise, slam something real and emotional in the middle of that moment, and these guys can realize it. So if you got the horses, you're not limited in what you write, and we're incredibly lucky to have these actresses.
Well, let me ask you to show the wisdom you were talking about, the network show. I mean, if you were going to prognosticate on what the industry that you have been so a part of is going to be like in the coming years. I mean, there certainly is an appetite for product out there because people have been sitting home watching and watching and watching. I mean, there's a demand.
You're streaming these days. It's not good, right? Bucket empty. I know. I'm watching things. I'm like, well, I guess there's another one. Let's keep rolling. No, it's
hours upon hours upon hours. Yeah.
Look, we work for big, hungry corporations. We're not happy that the machine's been shut down. We're going to get back to it. Now, how that manifests it's the Wild West right now. I have conference calls about, well, it might be this, it might be that. No one knows. No one knows when. I think that right now rapid testing is sort of the first hurdle because there's no way to do what we do. And sitcoms are in better shape sometimes than other kinds of movies and TV shows, but in terms of what we can sort of monitor, it's a controlled environment, but no one knows. No one knows what, but I know the bear's getting hungry and there's a big market for it. And, during weird, hard times, if you go back to the Depression, comedy was king. There's a definite need for what we do and we want to do it. The thing that I'm also curious and wary of is, we all know that corporate America loves finding reasons to hire less people. And I'd be fascinated how they try and bring the scythe down on our process in terms of, do you really need that many fill in the blank, writers, actors, whatever's, crew members? I think that, in the early going, we have to be minimal, but I worry about that being a bottom line precedent for companies that are more interested in profit than understanding. Well, if you want the show to be good, it does take a lot of body parts,
Well, we had this conversation with one of Mom's stars, Billy Fichtner, and a fellow Western New Yorker here, and he said the same thing. He said maybe those big budget, the Ben-Hur type meeting, Star Wars.
I'm sorry. Bill Fichtner's a huge part of Mom and a Buffalo guy. All right, that's not good on my part.
That's all right. Just say you did it on purpose. Say you did it on purpose so that I would remember it.
He needs some humbling.
He loves working on that show, but he has said that it will totally change. Any very short in the time we have left advice for young people that are faced with all kinds of decisions, kids that have been going to school thinking they were going to make it out in LA and they were going to do this and they were going to do that, and now they're in their senior year, and or people that are just starting out.
Give them the usual advice. Your young 20s are an adventure, whether things are normal or strange, and that's what they should be. I spent my 20s chasing all sorts of things that didn't turn out to be who I am, But that's how you learn. You know, I suggest if a door opens and it may not be the door that you thought you were knocking on, but it's interesting, go through it. Your life will be better for it. And the world will kind of teach you what you are. You might not have it nailed quite yet. You might. Some do, some don't. But I also would say that, you know, I honestly, you know, I'm a fairly optimistic person. I do believe that things will normalize. It's a question of when, not if. If they don't, I don't think we're going to be worried about making TV. I think we're going to be, you know, eating our neighbors.
Gee, that's a good point. That's a good place to end.
You're on your own. Look.
Yeah, that's a great place to end. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Thank you so much, and best of luck, and we hope that Mom will be back in production before you know it. And I thank all of you out there for watching this episode of Behind the Camera, and hope that you'll join us next time.